On Health Matters Television for Life.
I didn't recognize myself anymore, and stress had taken over.
Are you feeling stressed out? It can take its toll.
It came to a point about a year ago that I had to make a decision. I wasn't living a quality life anymore.
How this woman curbed the causes of stress and is feeling better. Learn how you can too, as Health Matters helps you to manage stress. Right now on Health Matters.
Health Matters is made possible by our viewers, the friends of KSBS, and by Providence Healthcare.
If you read Providence's mission statement, it's all about delivering quality care to the patient at all times. I'm Dr. Peter Rinaldi, and I chose Providence because they put the doctor-patient relationship first.
Find your doctor online at phc.org.
I really liked the idea of being part of Providence, where if I have a question, if there's something that I'm concerned about, I can always call a specialist. I'm Dr. Anna Barber, and I chose Providence because here I can help children thrive and reach their highest potential.
Good evening, I'm Teresa Lukens, and welcome to another edition of Health Matters. The holidays are here, and for many of us, that can mean added stress. And it's not just busyness we're talking about. Stress takes its toll on our bodies, with 43% of all adults suffering adverse health effects from stress. So tonight, we'd like you to sit back and relax and learn how to cope. Here to help us do that, our esteemed panel. Tracy Scare is a professor in the College of Pharmacy at Washington State University. Carrie Jo Hilgendorf teaches in the Nutrition and Exercise Physiology Department at Washington State University. And Matthew Layton is a clinical professor in the Department of Psychiatry and Behavioral Science at the University of Washington. He is also a clinical associate professor in the Department of Clinical Sciences at WSU's College of Medicine. And I want to thank all of you for being here tonight and helping us tackle this topic of stress. We also encourage your emails and phone calls this evening. Take advantage of the expert panel that we have this evening and talk about stress and the stress in your life and how to remedy that. Let's talk about what stress actually is, what it means to be stressed. Dr. Layton, are there levels of stress? Can I be just a little stressed and a lot stressed?
Yes, there definitely are, and we actually talk in terms of eustress being actually good, EU stress on your body. Like for example, if you want to exercise, you have to push your body to actually get the help. What happens when you get overstressed is you start to have distress and your body's functions start to get impaired. We lose sleep. We have a lot more to say about that.
And it can actually start culminating and showing itself in other ways, Dr. Scare.
Yes, and people oftentimes might have trouble thinking because they're not getting enough sleep, and they just can't concentrate, and it really interrupts their day.
And do people quite often recognize it in themselves, or will those around us recognize it first about us?
It probably is a combination of both, really knowing the people around you and knowing yourself as well, whether or not you're able to notice that before your family does. So hopefully it's a community process and with your loved ones as well.
Mm-hmm. Men or women become more stressful?
Do I have to take that?
Yes, you do.
I'll answer it like this. When you look at anxiety and depression, and I'm a psychiatrist, women tend to outnumber men about 2 or 3 to 1. So you can argue that actually you may be more conscientious and men may worry less because they don't have the same makeup. I mean, really, it's a wonderful debate, but why are some psychiatric disorders, even among males and females, and others are more prominent in females?
And we tend to take on maybe a little bit more and let us, and again, become more stressful? Is that usually the case, especially when we're talking about the holidays and those sort of things, when we want everything to be perfect for our families and our holiday celebrations?
Well, women like to multitask. They're the center of the family, getting things done, and that spills out into their work life as well. And so they just have a different approach to how they mend their life, and that may lead them down the path of more things to cope with.
So physically, what happens to our bodies, Dr. Layton, when we become stressed to that point where it really does start to affect us physically? What's going on?
Most people would recognize the term fight or flight, and that's when our body is in the situation where we're fearing for our survival, really at an instinctual level. And so there's a wonderful book called Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers, and it's by Dr. Sapolsky from Stanford. And the gist of it is that if you are on the savannah and there's a lion and you're an antelope, well, you have two choices. Okay, the choice is usually to run away, but then the lion chases you, and it's either over one way or the other. Okay, you either get away and survive, but then they're exhausted, but they don't have chronic stress. And what happens is in humans, we have this day-to-day stress which accumulates as we're not getting good nutrition, we're not sleeping well, we're not exercising, and that's when it starts to take its toll.
Stress on the heart?
On the heart, on the whole body.
And so then we need to fix it. We need to find ways to remedy that, and we can do that in a number of ways, through exercise being one of them.
Yeah.
And what happens then how does it counteract stress when I exercise?
When you exercise, it releases many different factors in the body. There's brain-derived neurotrophic factors. Essentially, there's a lot of benefits that are chemicals that are released when you exercise that help ameliorate or negate a lot of those stress symptoms. And so that's how exercise is helpful. But there's also meditation, and diet affects it as well. So there's a lot of other areas too.
So if I add, then I can add nutrition or say the meditation into that to start sort of remedying the problem.
Yes. I should say this on the outset. I am a pharmacist, but I advocate using complementary medicine, and medications only can go so far. And so meditation-based stress reduction type programs really help a lot in complementing taking care of yourself and learning how to do that from your self standpoint, not from just your doctors telling you what you need to take as a medication.
But can I start, say, with a medication and then add to that with nutrition and exercise, and then perhaps wean off of the medication? Is that a complementary course of?
If you've got the depression and the anxiety together, medications can help you find a base of support, and then you can add to that with the other items like the exercise or the meditation, and perhaps your anxiety will be better controlled and the like, and you may not require as much medication. Less is more. So that's the hope.
When does stress start leading to anxiety or depression? Because then you're getting into some serious territory.
Right, and when you talk about these hormones that are a little bit more on the stress response side, the most common one is called cortisol. And at the same time, though, people also recognize adrenaline or norepinephrine, which these body chemicals are increased in the stress response. And as you go further and further, losing sleep or having these outpourings of these stress hormones, we know that it affects the immune response system. It can actually lead to why people know that they often get sick when they're stressed out. I think people do realize that a lot of times. Their stress headaches, all these things are direct physiological results of the stress.
What TMJ say? People tense up and will sleep with that tension in their jawline, and is that a byproduct also?
Yes.
Dr. Hilgendorf is shaking her head. Yes, it is. Do you quite often see that? Those sort of things?
I notice that when I am sleeping, when I'm stressed out, I clench my mouth. So I'm sure that's a common thing. I haven't seen it, but I can definitely see that it would be a problem.
Yes. And in fact, that's one of the challenges, because the medications, I think what I want to say also is that there are a lot of downsides to the medications. They do have adverse effects. And so what we try to do is, if the person's willing to work through some of these attempts to understand their thoughts, understand where the source of the stress is coming from. Is it work? Is it parenting? Is it having too many things on your plate? And then start actually problem solving and unwinding that. Then they can learn better coping skills so it doesn't happen again.
Are we more stressed today than we were 20 years ago?
Definitely. I mean, we have a really different society now, being connected all the time. I mean, everyone has their cell phone, and no matter what, they could be in contact with someone else, either texting or social media or whatever. And that just wasn't present 20 years ago. We'd be out enjoying sleigh riding right now and not playing a game on our phone or writing on Facebook. You know, we'd be actually out enjoying the environment that we're in, and we're missing that now because we're so connected to the electronic world.
Well, and that brings up an interesting point too with our kids, adolescents, teenagers. They're more stressed than they were, say, when we were at that age. Isn't that right?
Well, I think it's hard to compare the types of stressors because every generation, I believe, has their own types of stressors that manifest. But it is true that now adolescents and youth are so plugged in to their own phones and their social systems, and there's a lot of bullying that can go on within their social systems that parents often are not aware of, that can be stressors for those kids as well. So yes, there's a lot of ways that the kids nowadays do have a lot more, or at least different types of stressors that the adults are not as attuned to because they did not go through those same stressors.
So how do we help parents cope with that and help their kids?
I think more awareness. There's a lot of programs that parents can get involved with. So also to being willing to talk to your kids too. I know that you guys did a panel a while ago on teen depression, and I know that was something that you talked about as well, or teen suicide.
Yes, exactly.
And that was on there, so that's a good resource to follow up with as well.
And the parents need to be less stressed so that they can help the kids be less stressed. We've got this vicious circle going on, if you will.
Yeah, and family activities, being able to go outside and walk together and build that family cohesion is going to be a big thing as well. Exercise is important for adults and youth and adolescents at all ages. So.
And do we see it manifest in different ways at different ages? Do seniors process stress much differently than, say, adolescents do?
I think that's a very good point, because if you're thinking of a senior who went through the Depression, for example, their stressors were about existence, and now we're talking about stressors from being a wealthy society with access to this amazing technology at that age. What I think is important is that if you're talking about smaller children, there's no question it changes their behaviors. And I teach medical students, and one of the sayings is, under stress, they will regress. And so if you actually have children who have, for example, they lose their toilet training, or they're not doing well at school, then we often look at what's going on in the environment, what's changed, where they had a trajectory where they were developing normally, and something has stressed them, and that's the interpersonal relationship. Like Carrie Jo mentioned, the bullying and the cyberbullying among teenagers. Bullying happens at work. We know that too, and all sorts of harassment, and interpersonal conflict is one of the biggest sources of stress.
What will we start to see in our children? I mean, will we see nail biting or different things sort of start to happen that a parent can recognize as perhaps if the child isn't voicing the fact that they're stressed out?
Well, I'm worried
or they
about
don't even know that they're stressed out.
An epidemic of text neck. Okay.
Text neck, yeah.
Text neck would be chronic positioning like this. Okay. So literally thinking about posture is very important too. And breathing and relaxation, because it's a tense setting. So you could reduce it to the actual physical symptoms. So for example, if you spend 12 or 14 hours playing video games, laying around on the sofa, I mean, that's not particularly healthy. And what are you eating while you're doing that? So I think those are the signs where if you're the parent and you're seeing this happen, you have to parent at that point. And it's difficult. It really is at that point to set those limits and to say, I'm going to limit your screen time. I'm going to make sure that you are getting exercise and that you are interacting with us as well as your friends, and not just sending us texts with emojis.
Now, when it comes to seniors, I just read a recent study came out that stress can actually trigger mild cognitive impairment with older adults, and now they're saying could lead in some people to Alzheimer's. So we're talking about some really serious consequences, especially in older adults.
Yeah, the elders of our society there's more of us as our baby boomers like myself move into that realm. But the Alzheimer's is not the only type of dementia that can happen. So watching cognitive changes or changes in behavior in elderly is a sign that they might be depressed, that you just don't manifest the same signs that other people might do. So they might just become withdrawn. They might not be sleeping as well. Maybe you're noticing they're not, getting the message out as well as they used to. And that kind of would be a trigger to say, what's going on here? Where's the stress coming from?
Is being a worrywart, because I tend to be a worrier. I worry about my kids, I worry about my husband. And is the same thing as stress? Is there a fine line between being sort of a worrywart and
well, for example,
being stressed?
If you were coming to me as a doctor and you were saying, I think I may be worrying too much, what I would be looking for is this interfering with your life. Because for some people, worrying is a way of staying organized and staying on top. It's what happens is when that gets out of control and it starts to cause them to have tension headaches or fatigue or stomach aches. And that's when it starts to become, we need to do an intervention and get you coping better, making better choices, better behaviors. And we would do it at the lowest level to try to get your worries less.
Okay. We have an email coming into the show this evening from Lori, who says, please address the particular stress of being a full-time in-home caregiver for a loved one. That's an interesting topic, and we actually talked briefly about that before the show started, Dr. Scare.
Yes, it's quite a endeavor to be the caregiver for somebody that's dependent upon helping them out on activities of daily living. And that can take its toll on that person because they care so much, and then they do a lot, and then they don't get their rest. And they get stressed, and then you've got a vicious cycle. So it's really important for people that are in that situation to have an ability to take time off from that and have a break from that and have someone else come in so that they can just have some time to themselves.
And not feel guilty about it.
Right.
That often comes into play as well.
Right. And, they're so devoted and they want to do the best they can for their loved one, but it's important that they take care of themselves. And if they don't take care of themselves, they can't take care of others. And so they have to get that little respite time. And, if it's a home health and hospice sort of situation, they do offer time for people to have some respite time, and they'll let another caregiver come in for a while to give them a break.
Even to get out and take a walk. How important is that?
Oh, so very important. Even just a 10-minute bout can do wonders for just the mind and the body. So it's extremely important.
Get the heart rate up just a little bit and get things pumping and flowing and that sort of thing. Is it necessary to have aerobic exercise, or is just a nice, relaxing walk going to do the trick?
Actually, they show that just a 10-minute moderate intensity. And again, anytime you do physical activity, we always say, please talk to your physician first, just because we don't know everyone's history or limitations. But just being able to get moving is considered aerobic activity. You don't have to be running. You can just be walking, and it still does wonderful things for your body.
What about weight-bearing exercises? Yes. Same thing?
Well, weight-bearing is also very important, especially with building bones and getting muscle movement for activities of daily living. But it won't have as the same benefit for cognition and having the same type of effect that aerobic activity does have.
Okay. We know that stress at work can be huge, and that's a huge factor for a lot of people. But when the demands of a job start affecting your health, that's when it becomes a real problem. And that's exactly what happened for a Spokane woman. The self-described workaholic found a way, though, to take care of that and manage her stress, and she's much happier for it now.
When Jamie LaRock switched companies 4 years ago, it seemed like the dream job. The experienced underwriter could work from home, building a new territory, but the added responsibility meant long hours.
Oftentimes, you would catch me in the office 12 hours a day.
Jamie says she couldn't stop.
I just felt that need to get all this work done and be successful for the company to help them grow.
Eventually, the long hours and stress caught up with her. Jamie says that she was tired all of the time, but when she'd try and get some rest, she couldn't sleep. Her health was suffering.
I couldn't fend off colds, just basic things that before I wouldn't get sick.
Finally, about a year ago, she decided she'd had enough.
I didn't recognize myself anymore, and definitely stress had taken over.
The first thing Jamie did was cut back on the hours at her computer.
I actually set a timer every day, and it was like, wrap up what you're doing, you're done.
Next, she made an effort to get out.
And started trying to reach out more to friends, spend more time with friends, because I had kind of cut all of that off.
And she added exercise. First a running group, then classes through Physical Therapy Associates. Through a program called Body Transformation, Jamie learned less is more. She was encouraged to take leisurely walks, do yoga.
Take time out to take a nap or do some meditation.
Gradual changes over time that added up.
I've lost 50 pounds.
Jamie shudders to think what her life would be like if she hadn't made changes.
I think I would be sick, burnt out. I may have decided to leave that job.
Jamie knows it was how she was living and not her job that was the root of her health issues. Now, with a system in place to reduce stress, Jamie is encouraged and not discouraged.
It can be done. It's definitely worth it.
Well, and she had gotten to such a place that she had to retrain herself to get into the exercise program and to learn yoga and meditation. So important. You talk a lot about meditation, being more mindful, being more in the moment. We tend to just let things get out of control.
Yeah, and we used to do that a lot when our generation was younger. But taking the time to just be in the moment and not judge how you feel, how other people feel, let go of the negativity and just take 5 minutes. Don't eat at your desk. Take 5 minutes to be mindful about maybe focusing on your breath, maybe focusing on what you're eating. So much of the time we eat it so fast we forget what it tastes like. Try eating mindful meal and you'll be surprised. Wow, I didn't realize a raisin had that many flavors. Just little
Taste
things
your
like
food,
that,
yeah.
Giving your mind a break from everything else that's bombarding it from your day-to-day life. It'll be great. They also make really nice apps now for your phone where you can make your own type of nature sounds to help go to sleep by. If you're having
Where the phone
trouble
can be a
going to
good
sleep.
thing for us.
If you're having trouble going to sleep, you can pick the owl and the rain and whatever and make your own little tune to listen to and put a timer on it, and pretty soon you'll be asleep and you didn't realize that worked, because you'll take your mind off of that rumination, that constant, oh God, I got to do this tomorrow and I got to get
the
this.
list,
I
the
don't wanna
list
forget
making
that.
in the head.
Yeah,
we all do
so
that.
you have to let that go and say, hey, I can't fix everything, but I can spend some time with me.
All right, let's talk to Rose in Spokane. Good evening, Rose.
Hello.
Hi.
I have a problem. I moved to Spokane, and I'm 75, and I used to ski a lot, and cross-country ski, and I can't find people that will want to do this. Right now I can't drive because I had a seizure, and so I have to wait until the time limit's up. But I've been here now 3 years, and I'm having the same problem. They won't go out and ski. They won't cross-country ski even. And I don't see a solution to this.
Dr. Hilgendorf, do you know of any groups or anyone that Rose could contact to get out and start the process?
I know that Parks and Rec in Spokane has a lot of really great opportunities, and I believe that there's transportation provided as well. So that could be a group, and I know that they have it for all ages, at least as far as I know. I don't know if either of you guys know.
I know Community Colleges of Spokane has some excellent programs as well, too.
And I think the community health centers do as well, that they have around town. So it'd be good to kind of check up on those different organizations to see what they have coming up so that you could do something like that.
And I would also encourage her perhaps to go to someplace like REI or a recreational store where there are postings of gatherings and groups. So that would mean maybe taking a risk and going into an environment, but asking the people who work there, who are the people who know.
Yeah, making a few phone calls. Rose mentioned she couldn't drive right now, so maybe networking a little bit on the phone to get that. But we do have some great groups in the Spokane area that we hope that you will tap into and get more information about that, because at 75, she sounds like she wants to stay active.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And
kudos.
and stay in some of the things she really enjoys. How important is that, doing things that you enjoy other than just work?
Is being happy less stressful? I would say yes, and that's quality of life. That's really what we're going for. When I have somebody who's so anxious or so depressed that they can't come up with anything that they enjoy, they forget
no hobbies.
they have where they used to, and they just don't do them, and they're not doing their usual enjoyable activities. And I have to often just say, well, what did you do for fun? What do you see yourself doing for fun now? And often it's a process that they have to go through to actually think about what would actually make me feel better. And I can assure you that when they do that, that activation kind of therapy, it starts to reinforce itself. And then you get that momentum, and that's what it takes to get happy again.
You talk a lot about sleep and the importance of sleep in all aspects of our life, and it really comes into play when we're talking about stress, because it can interrupt sleep, but it can also help to take the stress off if you get a good night's sleep and create those patterns.
I'm the physician of record for the WSU Sleep and Performance Research Center, and so we're doing really exciting research in this area with sleep deprivation, the effects on how we think, how it interferes with our reaction times. We have graduate students working on different night shift, day shift effects. And so when I teach my first year medical students, I start with diet, sleep, and exercise, and I say what's good for your patient is good for you. And if you focus on those three things, then you keep the doctor from burning out and you get your patients better. That's what we want.
What happens when we don't get enough sleep physically?
We get a buildup of chemicals that tell us you need to sleep more, in fact. And there's a circadian rhythm, but then there's also what we call homeostatic pressure to sleep. And as you're sleep deprived, that pressure builds up. And that's why after a day or two of not sleeping well, we're not thinking, we're irritable, things are getting on our nerves, and we're not performing well. And that's just like what Dr. Scarra was saying just a minute ago. That's when you need to take a break and say, what I'm doing is not working, and I need to take some time to make sure that I'm doing what's going to get me healthy.
Mm-hmm. You need to participate in your own health plan.
Yes, and one other thing about sleep is that over time it's going to affect your body's ability and immune system to fight off infection for sure. And you can sleep, but it's got to be restful sleep. There are a lot of people that sleep a lot and they don't wake up refreshed, the chronic fatigue folks, the fibromyalgia folks. And so trying to find a way to make sure that their sleep is good sleep is also important too.
Can medication help with that in some cases?
We do have medication to help make you go to sleep. We have supplements too, like melatonin and valerian as well. But the idea behind them is for acute use only. We don't like to use them over long periods of time because they can create side effects like worsen your depression. And the one I love to show my students in class is sleep driving. People are sleepwalking, you've probably heard, but sleep driving is the same thing, only they're driving a vehicle while they're asleep. And that's a side effect of some of the sedative hypnotics that we do use to help people sleep.
That's
your Ambien,
asleep.
Your Ambien and
Wow.
your Sonata and your Lunesta.
Yeah,
Exactly.
That's something we want to avoid.
Well, it's like I was saying, there are the benefits and there are the risks. And I think that's why I really do need to, if you've tried the things that we talk about with sleep hygiene, there's hygiene about every morning routine. How do we start the day? How do you go through, taking your shower, brushing your teeth, getting dressed, all that. Well, at night, you really need the same kind of routine if you want to have a good balance. And all this is about balance, if you ask me. And so at that point, it's, am I sleeping enough? Am I sleeping too much? and looking for ways to, okay, am I having caffeine in the evening? Am I having coffee with caffeine or soda or energy drinks or monster drinks? All those things we have to say, okay, let's take a look at your behaviors and how is that contributing to your sleep problem? And then if we do that and we've exhausted those options and then they're really sick, then I'll prescribe medications. So I don't want to give you the wrong impression. That's what I do. But I really want to see all these other things happen before I expose them to these kind of risks.
Approach it like you would with your kids. Get them on a routine. You want to get yourself on that same sort of routine so that you can experience the best night's sleep that you can get.
Exactly.
You want to look at the cognitive behavioral behind it. Are you watching TV from bed? Are you reading from bed? Is it excessive? Well, you're supposed to go to bed and sleep. And maybe changing that up and making the bedroom just for sleep is the way to go.
Mm-hmm. Nutrition, we haven't even really touched on nutrition and how that can help us with dealing with stress and making sure that we're eating a balanced meal and how that comes into play, because sometimes when we're stressed, part of the reason is we're on the go, we're grabbing fast food, or we're not eating what we should be eating. How does that help?
Well, especially with the holidays when there's so many treats around and we're baking cookies for everybody, that's what we want to eat. And also when you are stressed or you're depressed, a lot of times your body does release chemicals with high-fat diets or with sugars, and that make you feel better. So it's important to remember to forego those things that you really crave at the moment, or at least having a really wholesome, healthy meal before you go somewhere where those high sugar and high fat diets can actually cause more problems later on down the road.
Mm-hmm. Are we also dehydrated? Are we getting enough water?
Yes. Especially in Spokane, which is a drier area. So definitely drinking water. In winter months, we tend to not drink as much water. So really increasing the water consumption and even putting fun lemon slices in your water to make it taste better or to make it more appetizing for you. It's a good idea.
Okay, we've got another email coming in, this one from Patty, who says, can anyone talk about the research and benefits of mindfulness-based stress reduction?
Patty, I wonder if I know her. Well, that's what I have my training in. I'm certified in mindfulness-based stress reduction, and I got that training from the university.
Explain what that means.
Well, mindfulness-based stress reduction takes teachings that come from Buddhism. It takes not the religion, but the practices of doing yoga and mindful meditations and mindful activities in learning to cope with your life with that. And through that, you learn to not judge what things are going on and to spend time in the moment and enjoying that moment. And from there, that ruminative response style gets shown the door and it doesn't come back. You learn how to let those intrusive emotions and thoughts and feelings from interfering with the enjoyment that you have for life.
What are some tips and tricks? I mean, I know you've gone through extensive training, but some little things that we can do to be more mindful.
Well,
do we take a specific time of day to do that?
Well, like I mentioned earlier, you can say, okay, breakfast I'm going to do a mindful meal, or I'm going to be mindful when I wash the dishes. How does that really feel on my hands? What smells do I have? Or I'm cooking in the kitchen, not just making them.
So you're not thinking about anything else but what you're doing
at that moment. That's the moment that you have. Forget, phone calls, forget anybody talking to you, whatever. This is what you're doing at the moment. And you can pick whatever time of day or whatever. You can be mindful when you first wake up in the morning. How am I feeling? How's my body feeling today? Am I awake? Am I ready to get out of bed? What's going on? What sensations am I feeling? What do I smell? You can just take that time out, and it doesn't have to be a long time. It can be a couple minutes, 5 minutes, or if you want to devote a little bit more time, like 15 minutes in the evening, you can do that, and you can work up towards it. And you can do yoga along with it. And it's just not, there's a lot to it. There's different types of meditation. There's walking meditation. There's sitting meditation. The basis behind mindfulness-based stress reduction is actually what we call a body scan. And learning the body scan and learning about your body and how it feels as you look through it during one of those scans is how you start to learn about yourself.
What will I start to recognize in myself once I start doing that?
You'll know where you're tense and you're like, wow, I'm going to learn how to breathe that tension out. I'm going to learn how to even accept the tension that's there. And you can't fix everything, and well, okay, I know it's there. Wow, I didn't really know that I thought these things like that. What does that really mean? If you spend a lot of time doing it, you'll actually have aha moments about yourself. And wow, I didn't realize I was doing that. What can I do differently? So it's just things that you didn't think you would even think of just start popping up.
I would add that you recognize your triggers too.
Yeah.
And what sets you off. And once you can identify those, then you can, that aha moment is, I'm doing it again. And at this time of year, it could be, we were talking about the lists and shopping, and maybe people start to race, or they start to think about finances. And this is a very difficult time of year. People who are stressed for financial reasons. It's hard to take that moment and think, okay, well, how am I feeling? And realizing, this triggers. When I start thinking about finances right now, I'm really stressing out. I can't breathe, my heart rate's picking up, I'm feeling sweaty. At that point, so, okay, what can I do about this? Instead of just feeling that stress, it's, as Tracy was saying, you breathe through it, but then you realize this is what's causing my tension, and I need to address that underlying problem so that it doesn't keep happening day after day.
Yoga. She brought up an excellent point with yoga. Yoga is very different from just taking a walk, but again, it can sort of concentrate on those areas of stress and where you're holding it, whether it's the neck or the back or other areas of the body. So yoga can be a good stress reliever as well.
Yes, it can. And also other symptoms that could go along. So depression, different things. They've actually have looked at studies that show that symptoms of depression are reduced with yoga. And I think that just we're talking about how you can use mindfulness with yoga. I believe that they're often it's supposed to be used together, at least in my experience with yoga. I don't teach it, but I have joined it a few times.
Yoga is a body awareness type activity, as is Tai Chi, and so from that, it's again, you're looking at mindful movements and that sort of thing, and learning more about what you can do, not judging how you are compared to other people in the class, but what you're able to accomplish when you're in that moment doing those sorts of things.
And for those who are physically challenged, there's evidence that actually shows that reading and studying self-help books help your depression, and you really can reduce your stress, even if you can't imagine yourself doing some of these things that we know have already produced as evidence. You can do simple things.
What about breathing and our breathing patterns? I know in yoga, a lot of it is how you're breathing and how that can help sort of release that tension as well.
Yes, so you can also apply mindfulness to the same thing, where just taking deep breaths in and out, just really enjoying the fresh air that can completely release your tension. Same with power poses have been shown to release tension. It's just spreading your body out, becoming larger can actually reduce your stress symptoms at the moment and for just at that acute time. So it's an interesting, to do the power poses like that.
You're increasing your lung capacity, you're opening up, you're stretching muscles that we often don't use. Like I was talking about earlier, if we're driving in traffic, how are we? We're hunched, we're stressed. And so this is the idea, is to open up, get the breathing down where you can say, okay, I'm stressing, I'm clenching down, I feel I just need to take my break and relax and work through this.
Leave the phone at home or in your gym bag. I can't tell you how many people I see on a machine at the gym with their phone. They're not just listening to music, they're texting or they're talking to people, or people in my neighborhood taking walks with their phones. That can't help. That's got to contribute to the stress factor. You're counteracting the exercise factor.
Not being able to disengage. But yeah, so rhythmic exercise, I guess something that I should have mentioned earlier, but rhythmic exercise is actually very beneficial. So the walking, like we talked about, if you're able to jog, if you're safe to jog, or Doing yoga, just doing sun salutation over and over, that's really rhythmic and just really helps your body just relax and just settle down into the motion. And that's something that is proven also to be helpful with stress reduction and depression too.
Some recommendations for this time of year when it's a little tougher to get outdoors and take a walk. What would you recommend?
Let's see, if you can't go outside, there's a lot of yoga can be used inside. Again, we always try to say do cardiovascular activity. So if you can join sports centers and get outside, and I know that seasonal affective disorder is common at this time of year, so getting outside is key, especially if it's sunny out. But if you can't get outside, there's a gyms that have a lot of different activities and groups that you can form together, and that communication and building relationships with other people is really important. But there's also a lot of home videos that you could do inside. Go to the library and check out some really neat exercise activity videos.
And I would just like to mention at this time of year, since you brought it up, Teresa, is vitamin D. We're chronically low in this region because of the lack of sunlight. And so some people who are fatigued over time and have tried all these things and they don't feel like they're getting better, and that's another reason you need to see your physician. You need to have the test done because you may need vitamin D supplementation, which is easy to do.
Any other supplements or vitamins that we can help add to our regime?
Well, omega-3 acids are also found to help, and that's your fish oils and that sort of thing. Some people use flaxseed oil, that helps with helping improve energy.
Talk about the role of alcohol. Again, this time of year, we're at a lot of parties and family get-togethers. If we are stressed out, can it help or hinder?
Well, that's still the question at a certain range. We know it can hurt when there's too much, and there are people who really can't have any because they lose control. And so it's up to the person to know their own triggers, as we were talking about earlier. What we do know is that if your alcohol consumption is now causing you to do risky things, to not parent or to miss work or to do, now it's starting to interfere with your life, and you may have reason to take a harder look at that. Other people say, well, I just can't be around my family at this time of year without a drink. And
Sadly,
so I say, we go through the whole process. Well, okay, are you avoiding something? I mean, that's the point, is can you work through it with communication? And is alcohol something fun that you enjoy, or is it becoming something that's really something you have to do and really becomes a burden?
But if I go home in the evening, I've had a long day, I've had a stressful time at work, and I sit down and just sort of relax with a glass of wine, and that sort of relieves a little stress, is that okay?
Does it make you happy?
Yes.
I think in that time, believe me, that's
yes, a nice
the point.
Chardonnay makes me very happy.
There's a lot of evidence that drinking moderation improves quality of life. And that's really the truth, and yet we do know there's a downside, but there is an upside.
What about having those conversations, just talking to your spouse or to your best friend and just sort of releasing that way? How important is that?
Very.
Very?
I think also doing a checks and balance too, where sometimes it's so easy to focus on what is so stressful to us, that it's good to remember to think of all the things that you love about the area, the life that you're living and the day that you're in too. And that sometimes that can help, at least in my experience, can help counterbalance all of that negativity and that stress that is overwhelming you at that moment. And so talking to a loved one, a mentor, friends can help remind you about that as well, and can also just help give you support and love and what you need.
Well, and you're asserting yourself. I think that's the really important thing. One of the more healthy coping mechanisms is being able to observe yourself and assert yourself. And so a trigger is very often poor communication with spouse. Let's just take that as the example. And so the person starts to think about, I need to talk to them about this. This is bothering me. Now my stomach is bothering me and I have a headache. And so I'm not going to do it. Well, at that point, one of the easiest ways to introduce that difficult topic is to say, for example, when you do this, it makes me feel like this. And that is an opener to having a longer conversation. But a lot of people have a real hard time even taking that first step of saying, I need to talk to you about this because it's bothering me.
Well, because we tend to let it build up.
Yes.
And then that's when we end up with a big encounter.
Yes.
That's going to get ugly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's not communicating.
Correct.
And that can add to the stress.
Correct.
Yes.
So, at what point do we want to seek professional help? At what point do I recognize this in myself and say, now I need some help? I need either a team of doctors, nutritionists, someone to help me work through this.
I think
What's the
that
breaking
having
point?
a relationship with a primary care provider is important in the first place. And that way it's already part of what you're doing to be well. And so you have that relationship hopefully in place by doing your annual or taking care of your preventive tests. And then when you start to realize, okay, I am stressed out, you could talk to your primary provider about what's going on. And the hope is that you realize, okay, is this something that I need more in terms of, you said professional help. I would start out with that professional help and then see, is there a need for more? And if you're not able to function, if you're not working, you're not parenting, that's when you may need specific professional help.
Mm-hmm. I'd watch out for situations and conditions that you might think you have, but it's really stress related. For example, GERD, heartburn. I mean, that's more likely it's telling you you're doing too much than let's go get the medication for it, because we use medications for GERD way too much. Or you start having what you might think is a panic attack. You start sweating and maybe you think you're having a heart attack, and really it's anxiety. And so think about stress first when your body is starting to do things that this doesn't make sense. You're not sleeping, you're nervous, your upset stomach. It might very well be not really a problem with your stomach, but that you're overdoing the stress.
Mm-hmm. Hair loss, that's an issue with stress. Why is that?
Yeah,
it's just overtaxing the body?
Yeah, your hair has got its own way of hanging around too, and if it's too much for it, then it's going to start falling out as well. Your fingernails can go bad.
Yeah, all of those things.
We were talking about adrenaline earlier. Adrenaline is a vasoconstrictor, so it actually can reduce blood flow to, that's over time. And there are conditions where people actually are so anxious they're pulling their hair out and it's unconscious.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What other things are we doing unconsciously if we're stressed out like that? You'll recognize I'm a nail biter.
Poor posture. Nail biter.
Yeah, I'm a nail biter. Mm-hmm. Poor posture.
Poor posture. It's just literally something that when your body's in the repetitive use, like how are we always using the mouse on the computer the same way, repetitive use kinds of things. If we're not mindful to what's going on with our whole body, then we can end up with these conditions that are very focused in one part of the body because we're not balancing those out.
Mm-hmm. Taking a break in the middle of the day, a good idea. Again, as we mentioned, taking an actual lunch break, getting away from your desk or away from the work.
Yes, definitely.
And
definitely, and also being willing to say no to different things, right? And then stepping outside and just having your own rhythmic time or your own me time, and just being able to breathe and do things that you enjoy and not feeling pressure to always be doing everything that everyone wants you to do.
And again, I think we see that more in women. We're pleasers. We want, so whenever someone asks us for something, we want to say yes, we want to help out, but occasionally we need to say no.
Yeah. Definitely. Sanity is important. So take care of yourself.
Yeah, for our own health, you've got to learn to do that. What are some other coping mechanisms, I guess? We've talked about diet and nutrition and exercise and being mindful.
One thing I'd like to mention, though, because we sort of touched on it earlier, is, if your job is not making you feel good, and if you're having a stressful environment at work, don't be afraid to try something different, because it's about you and what you need and what your body needs. Because if you continually stay in an environment that's not going to be nurturing to you, it's going to hurt you in the long run. So be wise about yourself, even at work. And is this the right thing for you to do? And don't be afraid to try something different.
That can be very scary, though.
Yes.
That's very hard for people to walk away from, especially now when sometimes jobs are hard to come by.
True.
So it's hard to make that switch, that change in our life. And then that can become a little stressful as well.
That's right.
All
well,
right.
you mentioned something I think that is important as far as being pleasers. One of the most healthy coping mechanisms is altruism, and it's doing things for others because it makes us feel good. And especially, you see that at this time of year, the volunteer rates go up. So I would say another thing that people can do is figure out what it is that makes you happy, often doing something for others, and don't think of what you're going to get out of it, but rather what you can put into it, and people get a great deal of pleasure out of that.
That's an excellent point. We talked about some of the foods to avoid, high sugar, high fat, and eating more vegetables and fruits. Are there other nutrition-based foods that we can add to our diet that sort of help that process and boost our immune system and sort of help us with those stress levels?
Yeah, so I think a lot of whole foods types of situations, that being willing to, if you like to cook your own meals, preparing your meals in advance, right? Because a lot of times with the stress and limited times, we want to just stop by McDonald's or whatever quick place that we can. And if we have foods that we've already prepackaged, or make this huge pot at the beginning of the week of your favorite stew or medley or comfort food for this, I know there's a favorite, butternut squash is a favorite one for this time of year, but so you have that on hand and you can grab it. You're not as tempted to go to those foods that you'll regret more later.
What about staying on a schedule with our eating pattern? Is that important also?
A lot of people work in different ways. Generally speaking, yes, that can be a very good thing to stay on a schedule. I know a lot of people like to eat in smaller sizes, and some people like to eat in large meals at a set time. So really knowing your body and what works for you is going to be important as well. So
I wish I was a breakfast eater. I really do. It's healthier to be a breakfast than just grabbing a coffee and going out the door. So, that's one of the things that I'm working on with myself is to try to, because this is the most important meal of the day, it really is.
Well, and they show that, then you won't eat more the rest of the day, that if you're setting the tone in the morning and by eating breakfast. You mentioned, the caffeines before bed. Is eating before bed a bad thing as well? How soon or late do I want to have that meal?
I think that what Tracy said about heartburn, one of the biggest causes is eating late, eating pizza, going to bed, where you have this acidic environment now and you're going from being upright to laying down horizontal, and you're much more likely to have that reflux. But the solution wouldn't be to put somebody on a pill for that, it would be to educate them, don't eat spicy pizza right before you go to bed. The other thing is exercise right before you want to sleep. It really is stimulating for people. And so if you do a really intense exercise, and I would defer to Carrie Jo on this, in the evening, it can keep you from falling asleep.
Yes, it gets you hyped up too much. So what's the span of time I want to look at before between exercise and bed?
Again, there's so many different factors. It depends on how strenuous you exercise. Going for a nice mellow walk in the evening can be nice. Go look at the stars if it's not freezing cold. Go just move around, just be methodical. That's fine. But if you're going to go lift weights or
hit the elliptical,
or just go sprint, climb stairs, save that for earlier in the day. That's going to be better for you to do. At least give yourself, I've heard 3 to 6 hours before you're trying to go to bed. So I think it depends again on the person.
Well, this is particularly important for Teresa because she has to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning to do her morning show.
I get up at an early hour.
So, your circadian rhythm has been altered because you have a different time schedule than most of us, which can also affect how you sleep and what level of restful sleep you get.
That's true. And I do tend to wake up 3-4 times a night too.
And so you might want to look at some serial cortisol levels to see when it's peaking on you, so that you can work on trying to get it leveled out because you have a different sleep pattern than most of us around the room here.
But I think you're not alone in that. It's
Yeah.
really important to say. I mean, we're talking as much as maybe 30% of people in our country complain of insomnia and broken sleep, and that's that overstimulating stress environment. That's why we're doing this show.
Yeah. Well, what are some takeaways? We're getting low on time here. What are some takeaways about stress and what we know about our lives that really you'd like our viewers to know tonight before we close out the show?
It's okay to push your body. You have to watch out for pain and you have to watch out for limitations. But the fact is that a concept I was saying earlier about not all stress is bad, and pushing ourselves to new limits and to achieve new, whether it's a personal record or the fastest time that you ever had or the best you ever did at this activity, creates this reinforcing mechanism where that kind of stress is very helpful.
Okay.
I would say just take care of your body and listen to what it needs. So being regular in your physical activity, choosing healthier options when you eat, and making that choice now, not saying, oh, when such and such occurs, then I will have more time to take care of my body. That choice needs to be present and immediate, because there will be so many things that come up that will keep getting in the way of that goal. So just start now.
Be a part of the process, really.
Yes, yeah.
And I'd just like to add that be in charge of your own wellness. You know, take a stake in it. Don't just say, hey, doctor, what pill do I need? It's your health, it's your body, it's your life. And know thyself and heal thyself.
Any books you would recommend or sources for being more mindful and learning more about that?
Oh, there's lots of mindfulness-based information you can get from Amazon with John Kabat-Zinn or Saki Santorelli. My favorite book is Heal Thyself by Saki Santorelli. He's the current director of the Center for Mindfulness at University of Massachusetts. He's my main guru. When you sit and meditate with him, you just wait to hear what wonderful wisdom comes out of his mouth. And of course, he has CDs and tapes that you can do mindfulness exercise with him, and he's wonderful, including, you know, learning about compassion for yourself, being compassionate towards yourself.
Excellent point.
And so it's good stuff.
All right. Well, I want to thank all of you for being here tonight, and that will do it for this edition of Health Matters. Thanks to our panel for a great discussion, and our thanks as well to those of you that called and emailed. Join us on January 21st when our topic will be bones and joints. I'm Teresa Lukens. Good night.
Health Matters is made possible by our viewers, the Friends of KSBS, and by Providence Healthcare.
If you read Providence's mission statement, it's all about delivering quality care to the patient at all times. I'm Dr. Peter Rinaldi, and I chose Providence because they put the doctor-patient relationship first.
Find your doctor online at phc.org.
I really liked the idea of being part of Providence, where if I have a question, if there's something that I'm concerned about, I can always call a specialist. I'm Dr. Anna Barber, and I chose Providence because here I can help children thrive and reach their highest potential.